The big screen in the Earth government building showed the meeting room on Kepler 442b. President Helen Carter sat at the long table with her team. General Mike Taylor checked his watch. Admiral Susan Brooks looked worried. They were all waiting for the peace talks to begin. On the other side of the galaxy, Ambassador Zektar walked into the meeting room. He was tall and gray with 4 arms. His people, the Vrex, controlled many planets. They wanted Earth to give up their mining rights. The humans had found valuable metals on Kepler 442b. The Vrex wanted those metals for themselves. Humans must leave Kepler system, Zektar said in his cold voice. His words came through the translator clearly. We give you 1 day to pack and go. Helen Carter shook her head. We cannot do that. Our people have lived there for 10 years. They built homes. They have families. Families mean nothing, Zektar replied. Only power matters. Humans are weak. You will obey. The talks went on for hours. Neither side would change their mind. The Vrex wanted the mining colony. The humans would not abandon their people. Everyone watching knew this would not end well. On Kepler 442b, the Murphy family was having dinner. Paul Murphy worked in the mines. His wife Lisa taught at the colony school. Their daughter Katie was 8 years old. She had bright blue eyes and liked to draw pictures of Earth animals she had never seen. Mom, when can we visit Earth? Katie asked. She was eating her favorite food, mac and cheese from a box. Maybe next year, sweetie, Lisa said. We need to save more money first. Paul turned up the volume on their small TV. The peace talks were still going. I hope they work this out, he said quietly. But things were getting worse. Zektar was getting angry. His 4 arms moved as he talked. Humans think they are special. You are not special. You are just animals that learn to use tools. President Carter tried to stay calm. We want peace with your people, but we will not abandon our colonies. Then you will learn, Zektar said. He touched something on his wrist. Lieutenant Kexmar, begin the demonstration. On Kepler 442b, alarms started going off. Paul Murphy jumped up from the dinner table. Through the window, he could see Vrex ships landing near the colony. Lisa, take Katie to the safe room. Now. The colony had practiced this drill many times. If aliens attacked, families would go to safe rooms in their basements. The rooms had food, water, and air filters. They could keep people alive for days. But Katie was scared. When the first explosion started, she ran the wrong way. Instead of following her parents to the basement, she ran upstairs to her bedroom. She hid in the closet and pulled her stuffed rabbit close. The Vrex soldiers moved through the colony fast. They had big guns and metal armor. They were not trying to kill everyone. They were looking for something specific. They were looking for humans to use as examples. Lieutenant Kexmar found Katie in her closet. She was crying and shaking. Please don't hurt me, she whispered. I want my mommy. Kexmar grabbed Katie and dragged her outside. Other soldiers had set up cameras. Everything was being filmed and sent live to Earth and all the other planets in the galaxy. Millions of people were watching. Back in the meeting room, Zektar smiled. It was not a nice smile. Now you will see what happens to humans who do not obey. President Carter saw Katie on the screen. The little girl looked so small next to the big alien soldiers. Stop this right now, Carter demanded. She is just a child. Children grow up to be adults, Zektar said. Adults who might fight us. Better to remove the problem early. Katie looked at the camera. She did not understand what was happening. I want to go home, she said in her small voice. Please, I just want to go home. Those words went out live to every human in the galaxy. In homes and offices and ships, people stopped what they were doing. They watched the little girl who just wanted to go home. Zektar gave a signal to his lieutenant. Do it now. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who oppose the Vrex. The lieutenant raised his weapon. Katie closed her eyes and hugged her stuffed rabbit. She was thinking about her mom and dad. She was thinking about Earth, the planet she had never seen but always wanted to visit. The weapon fired. The transmission. Cut to static. President Carter stared at the blank screen. Her hands were shaking. General Taylor was completely still. Admiral Brooks had tears running down her face. Nobody in the room moved or spoke for a long time. Finally, Carter stood up. Slowly, she walked to her desk and picked up a red phone. Not the nuclear war phone. A different red phone that had never been used before. Get me Dr. Alan Foster, she said quietly. Tell him the Prometheus protocol is now active. Full authorization. No limits. She hung up the phone and turned back to her team. Gentlemen, ladies, the Vrex just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. Across Earth and all the human colonies, the same thing was happening. People watched the news reports about Katie Murphy. They saw her school picture, a smiling 8-year-old with missing front teeth. They learned about her drawings and her dreams of visiting Earth. In millions of homes, parents hugged their children tighter. In military bases, soldiers cleaned their weapons with new purpose. In research labs, scientists got phone calls telling them their projects were now top priority. The Vrex thought they had sent a message about power. They thought humans would be scared and give up. They had never been more wrong about anything. In their lives, Katie Murphy's last words echoed in every human mind. I want to go home. Soon, the Vrex would understand exactly what those words meant to humanity. The news spread across Earth in minutes. Katie Murphy's picture was on every screen, every phone, every computer. Her smiling face looked out from billboards and building walls. Someone had painted her portrait on the side of the Empire State Building. It was 50 feet tall. Paul and Lisa Murphy sat in their empty house on Kepler 442b. The colony was mostly abandoned now. Most families had left after the attack. But the Murphys could not leave. This was where Katie had lived. This was where she had played and laughed and dreamed about Earth. She wanted to see the ocean, Lisa whispered to her husband. She always asked about the whales. Paul held his wife close. They had been crying for 3 days straight. She would have loved the beach, he said. She would have built sand castles. Back on Earth, something was happening that had never happened before. All the countries were working together. The Russians shared their best technology with the Americans. The Chinese opened their secret labs to European scientists. Countries that had been enemies for centuries were now partners. Dr. Alan Foster had not slept in 4 days. He was in charge of the Prometheus Protocol, Earth's most secret project. For 50 years, human scientists had been developing weapons too dangerous to ever use. Now President Carter had given him permission to use them all. How long do we have? Asked Dr. Jennifer Lopez, his second in command. The president wants results in 6 months, Foster replied. We need to compress 50 years of theoretical work into 6 months of reality. That's impossible, said Dr. Kevin Brown from the weapons lab. Foster looked at Katie's picture on his desk. Nothing is impossible anymore. That little girl deserves justice. In the military bases around Earth, soldiers were getting new orders. Captain Jake Martinez commanded a stealth ship called the Nightfall. His crew had been together for 5 years. They trusted each other completely. Orders just came in, Martinez told his team. Tactical Officer Amy Rodriguez and Engineer Chris Adams listened carefully. We're going dark for the next 6 months. Deep space missions. Classification level is higher than anything we've ever done. What's the target? Amy asked. Martinez looked at his crew. These were good people. They had families of their own. We're going to make sure no alien ever kills a human child again. The Nightfall was not like other ships. It was built with technology that most humans did not know existed. It could become invisible to any scanner. It could travel faster than light without making any noise. It had weapons that could destroy a planet. But Captain Martinez and his crew were not the only ones getting special orders. All over human space, regular people were making extraordinary choices. Betty Clark taught third grade in New York. She had been a teacher for 20 years. She loved children. When she saw what happened to Katie, something broke inside her heart. Class, she said to her students, we're going to do something special today. We're going to record songs for Katie Murphy. The children did not really understand what had happened. They knew a little girl had been hurt by bad aliens. They knew the adults were very sad and angry. So they sang Katie's favorite songs and sent the recordings toward space. But Betty Clark did more than just sing songs. At night, she went to meetings in secret places. She learned how to make explosives. She learned how to hack computers. She learned how to kill aliens with her bare hands. All across Earth, teachers and farmers and store clerks were learning the same things. The government was training ordinary citizens to become weapons of war. Joe Harrison grew corn on a farm in Iowa. He had never hurt anyone in his life. He did not even like to kill the mice that ate his grain. But after seeing Katie die, Joe converted his farm equipment into weapons factories. His cornfields became training grounds for special forces. Even the peaceful colonies were changing. New Geneva had been founded by people who refused to fight wars. They believed in peace and love and understanding. They had never even built a police force. Now the people of New Geneva were building weapons in their gardens. They were teaching their children how to fight. They were preparing for war while still trying to hold on to their peaceful beliefs. We do not want to become killers, said Mayor Sandra White. But we will not let another child die like Katie did. The Galactic Council watched all this with growing worry. They had expected humans to be sad for a while and then forget. That was what most species did after a tragedy. But humans were different. Ambassador Roy Bennett represented Earth at the Galactic Council. Before Katie's death, he had been friendly and cheerful. He made jokes and tried to make everyone feel comfortable. Now he sat in meetings without speaking. When other aliens tried to talk to him, he just stared at them with cold eyes. The humans are planning something, worried Council. President Yarfik. Their behavior is not normal. They are just mourning, said Zektar. Soon they will accept reality and return to normal. But nothing was normal anymore. Human trading ships were carrying different cargo now. Instead of art and music and food, they carried strange devices that no one could identify. Human diplomats stopped smiling and joking. Human colonies became quiet and secretive. The strangest thing was the children. Human children all over the galaxy were acting different. They were quieter. They asked fewer questions. They watched the adults with serious eyes. It was like they understood that something terrible was coming. Agent Carla Wright was Earth's best spy. She had been working undercover in alien territories for 20 years. She spoke 15 alien languages and could disguise herself as 7 different species. For 20 years, she had been building a network of human agents throughout the galaxy. These agents had normal jobs. They were cooks and janitors and accountants. No one suspected they were spies. Danny Foster worked as a chef in a Vrex military base. He made food for Vrex soldiers every day. He smiled and joked with them. They thought he was harmless. They had no idea he was memorizing their security codes and copying their battle plans. Steve Murphy was a janitor in the Vrex government building. He was not related to Katie Murphy, but when he heard about her death, he volunteered for the most dangerous missions. He cleaned the floors where Vrex leaders made their plans. He emptied their trash and found their secrets. Nancy Bell worked as an accountant for Vrex supply companies. She processed their orders and tracked their shipments. She knew exactly where every Vrex weapon was stored and how many soldiers were. At each base, these agents had been sleeping for years, doing normal jobs and waiting for orders. Now Agent Wright was waking them up. Operation Katie's Lullaby begins now. She sent encoded messages. Time to sing the galaxy to sleep. Dr. Elizabeth. Green was Earth's leading expert on alien biology. She had studied every known species in the galaxy. She knew their strengths and weaknesses better than anyone. When she examined Katie's medical records from the colony, she found something interesting. Katie had been given a full medical scan just 1 week before her death. The scan showed details about human biology that had never been shared with aliens. They don't really know us, Dr. Green realized. They think they understand human limitations, but they've never seen our full capabilities. For centuries, humans had been hiding their true abilities. They pretended to be weaker than they really were. They acted like they needed help from more advanced species. It was all an act to keep the peace. Now the act was over. The galaxy was about to learn what humans could really do when they stopped pretending to be helpless. Admiral Susan Brooks reviewed the final reports from Project. Nightfall. The numbers were unbelievable. In just 3 months, humanity had built weapons that could destroy entire star systems. They had developed armor that could stop any known weapon. They had created ships that could travel across the galaxy in hours instead of months. Are we really going to do this? Asked General Mike Taylor. Admiral Brooks looked at Katie's picture. On the wall, that little girl wanted to see Earth's oceans. She wanted to build sand castles and watch whales. Instead, she died alone and scared, begging to go home. She turned to face the general. Yes, we're really going to do this. The mourning period was over. The rage was about to begin. 3 months had passed since Katie Murphy died. The galaxy was starting to relax. The Vrex leaders thought the humans had accepted their fate. Trade was still happening. Diplomatic meetings continued. Everything seemed normal on the surface. But people who looked closely could see the changes. Ambassador Roy Bennett still came to Galactic Council meetings. But he was different. Before Katie's death, he would joke with other ambassadors. He would share stories about Earth culture. He would invite aliens to try human food. Now he sat quietly in the corner. When other ambassadors tried to talk to him, he would nod politely and say 1 or 2 words. His eyes had become cold and distant. He looked at the alien diplomats like he was memorizing their faces. The human ambassador seemed sad, said Council Member Tixara. Perhaps we should send him a gift to cheer him up, Zekdar laughed. Humans are emotional creatures. They will forget about the child soon. All species forget their dead eventually. But Zekdar was wrong. Humans never forgot their dead, especially their children. In the Vrex Intelligence Building, Officer Kethmer was studying reports from human space. The reports showed strange activity. Human construction projects were happening in deep space, far from any planets. The projects were huge, but no one could figure out what they were building. The energy readings are unusual, Kethmer told his commander. These do not match any known human technology. What do you think they are building? Asked Commander Vexter. I do not know. The signatures are completely new. It is like they invented entirely new types of power sources. When Vrex scout ships tried to get closer to investigate, something strange happened. The ships would approach the human construction sites and then simply disappear. Not destroyed, just gone. No explosions, no debris, no distress signals. They were there one moment and gone the next. Send more scouts, ordered Vexter. But every scout ship that got close to human projects vanished without a trace. After losing 12 ships, the Vrex stopped sending scouts. "Maybe we should ask the humans what they are building," suggested Kethmer. "We do not ask," Vextha replied. "We are Vrex. We take what we want to know." But they could not take anything from the humans anymore. Every attempt to spy on human activities failed completely. On Earth, Dr. Alan Foster had not left his laboratory in weeks. He was working 20 hours a day, sleeping on a cot next to his computers. The Prometheus Protocol had given him access to every secret human technology project from the past century. "Status report," he said to his team during their daily meeting. Doctor Jennifer Lopez looked exhausted but excited. "The quantum disruptor arrays are complete. We can target specific molecular structures from anywhere in the galaxy." Dr. Kevin Brown nodded. "The gravity manipulation drives are installed on all stealth ships. We can create artificial black holes or reverse gravity fields. Biological analysis is complete," added Dr. Elizabeth Green. "We have identified the exact genetic markers that make each alien species unique. We can create weapons that will only affect specific targets." Foster looked at the reports. The numbers were incredible. In 3 months, humans had developed technology that was centuries ahead of anything else in the galaxy. How is this possible? He wondered out loud. "Anger," replied Dr. Green simply. "Human anger, focused on a single purpose, can accomplish miracles." Agent Carla Wright was busy activating sleeper cells throughout Vrex territory. For 20 years, her network had been in place, waiting. Now it was time to wake up. Danny Foster got his orders while preparing dinner for Vrex soldiers. The message was hidden in a recipe for chocolate cake. To anyone else, it looked like instructions for baking. But Danny knew the real meaning. He began adding special ingredients to the Vrex food supply. Not poison, something much more sophisticated. Tiny machines smaller than bacteria that would hide in Vrex bodies and wait for activation signals. Steve Murphy received his orders while mopping floors in the Vrex government building. The message was written in the pattern of water drops on the floor. He memorized it in seconds and then mopped it away. That night, Steve began installing microscopic devices throughout the building. They looked like dust particles, but they were actually advanced computer viruses. When activated, they would take control of every electronic system in the building. Nancy Bell got her instructions through her accounting software. What looked like a normal budget spreadsheet actually contained detailed attack plans. She began introducing tiny errors into Vrex supply chains. Weapons shipments were redirected to wrong planets. Food supplies were delayed. Communication equipment arrived broken. Each change was so small that no one noticed. But together, they were quietly crippling the Vrex military infrastructure. "Something is wrong with our supply system," reported Vrex General Caxtar. "Everything is arriving late or damaged." "Fix it," ordered Zektar. "We cannot look weak when we are preparing to expand our territory." But the problems kept getting worse. Vrex soldiers were complaining about their food tasting strange. Computer systems were running slowly. Communication networks were having mysterious glitches. The Vrex blamed it on incompetent workers and aging equipment. They had no idea they were under attack. Captain Jake Martinez and his crew had been in deep space for 2 months. The Nightfall was testing new weapon systems in areas far from civilized planets. The results were terrifying and beautiful at the same time. "Fire the molecular dissolver," Martinez ordered. Amy Rodriguez pressed the trigger. A beam of invisible energy shot toward a large asteroid. The asteroid did not explode or break apart. It simply stopped existing. One moment it was there. The next moment there was empty space. "Clean hit," reported Chris Adams from the engineering station. "Complete molecular breakdown. No debris, no radiation, No trace that the asteroid ever existed. Martinez nodded grimly. If Rex wanted to demonstrate power by killing Katie, let's show them what real power looks like. The Nightfall had 12 different weapon systems, each more advanced than the last. They could destroy planets, control gravity, manipulate time, and rewrite the laws of physics in small areas. The ship itself could become completely invisible or phase through solid matter. But the most frightening weapon was the crew's determination. Every person on the ship had volunteered for a mission they might not survive. They all knew they were preparing to fight a war that would change the galaxy forever. On Earth, ordinary people were making extraordinary preparations. Betty Clark had completed her combat training. She could now kill an armed Vrex soldier with her bare hands. But she still taught third grade during the day, helping children with their reading and math. Joe Harrison's farm looked normal from the air. But underground, he had built weapons factories and training facilities. His cornfields hid missile launchers. His barn contained enough explosives to level a city. Even in peaceful New Geneva, the colonists were ready for war. They had built hidden weapons caches throughout their settlements. Every man, woman, and child had learned basic combat skills. They still believed in peace, but they were prepared to fight if necessary. "We do not want to become killers," Mayor Sandra White reminded her people. "But we will never let another child die like Katie." The most chilling change was in human children throughout the galaxy. They had stopped playing war games. Instead, they played Protect the Colony and Save the Little Ones. They drew pictures of Earth animals protecting their babies from monsters. Human parents noticed that their children were having different kinds of dreams. Instead of nightmares about monsters, they dreamed about being heroes who saved other children from danger. "Katie's spirit is with them," whispered mothers as they tucked their children into bed. President Helen Carter met with her advisors every morning to review progress reports. The numbers were staggering. Humanity had mobilized resources on a scale never seen before. Every human colony, every research station, every ship in space was contributing to the war effort. "Are we ready?" she asked Admiral Brooks. "Almost," Brooks replied. 2 more weeks and Operation Katie's Lullaby will be complete. What about civilian casualties? Dr. Elizabeth Green answered that question. "Our targeting systems are precise, down to individual DNA markers. We can eliminate every Vrex military target without harming a single innocent creature." Carter nodded. "The Vrex think they understand power because they can kill children. They're about to learn the difference between cruelty and strength." Meanwhile, the Galactic Council was beginning to worry. Human behavior had become too strange to ignore. Human traders were polite but distant. Human diplomats answered questions with single words. Human colonies had become mysteriously quiet. "Perhaps we should investigate what the humans are doing," suggested Council member Yike Tar. "We should leave them alone," argued another member. "They are clearly still mourning their dead child." Sektar disagreed. "Humans are planning something, but they are weak. Whatever they are planning cannot threaten the mighty Vrex." In 2 weeks, Zektar would discover how wrong he was. The silence before the storm was almost over. Soon, the galaxy would hear Katie Murphy's lullaby sung with weapons that could reshape reality itself, and every alien who had watched her die and done nothing would understand why humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy when their children were threatened. The attack began at exactly 12 o'clock Earth time on a Tuesday. It did not start with explosions or laser beams. It started with silence. Every piece of Rex technology in the galaxy simply stopped working. Warships floating in space became dark and quiet. Communication systems went dead. Even simple tools like door locks and food processors stopped functioning. On the Vrex flagship Dominator, Admiral Kexvar was in the middle of planning another attack on human colonies. He was studying star maps when his holographic display flickered. And died. "What happened?" he demanded. "All systems are offline, sir," reported his communications officer. "Power is down, engines are dead, weapons are not responding." "Get me a damage report." "I cannot, sir. The computers are not working. Nothing is working." The same thing was happening on every Vrex ship, every Vrex base, every Vrex planet. For the first time in their history, the mighty Vrex were completely helpless. In the Vrex government building, Zektar was trying to contact his military commanders. His communication device was as dead as a rock. The lights in his office had gone out. Even the door to his office would not open. "Get me engineers," he shouted at his assistants. But his assistants could not hear him because their translation devices were not working either. Agent Carla Wright's network had done its job perfectly. For months, human agents had been installing tiny devices throughout Vrex territory. The devices looked like dust particles, but they were actually the most advanced computer viruses ever created. Danny Foster was still cooking in the Vrex military kitchen, but now he was smiling. The microscopic machines he had been putting in Vrex food were activating. Every Vrex soldier who had eaten his cooking now had billions of tiny machines in their bodies, waiting for orders. Steve Murphy stopped pretending to be a simple janitor. He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Throughout the Vrex government building, every computer system came under human control. Nancy Bell accessed the Vrex supply networks from her accounting computer. With a few keystrokes, she rerouted every Vrex supply ship to human-controlled space. The Vrex military would not get food, fuel, or weapons. The Vrex fleet had gathered in the Kepler system to intimidate more human colonies. 50 massive warships floated in formation, ready to repeat what they had done to Katie Murphy. But now those ships were powerless and drifting. Captain Jake Martinez brought the Nightfall out of stealth mode directly beside the Vrex flagship. His ship appeared from nowhere, like a ghost materializing in space. "This is Captain Martinez of the Earthship Nightfall," he broadcast on all frequencies. His voice reached every ship in the fleet, every planet in Vrex space, every corner of the galaxy. "This message is for Katie Murphy, age 8, who wanted to go home." The Vrex admiral tried to respond, but his communication systems were dead. "You wanted to show us the price of defiance," Martinez continued. "Today, we show you the cost of murdering children." What happened next was not a battle. It was systematic destruction, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Nightfall fired. Its first weapon, a molecular disintegrator beam. The beam touched the Vrex flagship's hull, and the entire ship simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not exploded, it just stopped being there. Where a massive warship had been floating, there was now empty space. "Target eliminated," reported Amy Rodriguez from the weapons station. "No debris, no survivors, no trace." "Next target," ordered Martinez. One by one, the Vrex warships disappeared. Each ship vanished completely when touched by human weapons. The Vrex crews had no time to surrender, no chance to escape. They were there one moment and gone the next, but the Nightfall was not alone. Dozens of other human ships decloaked throughout. The Vrex fleet, ships that had been invisible, were suddenly visible. Surrounding the helpless Vrex vessels, each human ship was equipped with weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Some created tiny black holes that swallowed Vrex ships whole. Others fired beams that froze time around their targets, leaving Vrex crews trapped forever in a single moment. The most terrifying weapons simply edited Vrex ships out of reality, as if they had never existed at all. Ground forces were already moving on Vrex planets. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Harris led a squad of soldiers who looked like angels of death. Their armor was pure white, and seemed to glow with its own light. They moved through Vrex positions like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. The Vrex tried to fight back, but their weapons could not touch the human soldiers. Bullets passed through them harmlessly. Energy blasts bounced off their armor like raindrops. The humans walked through Vrex defenses as if they were not there. "Target the military command center," Harris told his squad. They were standing outside a heavily fortified Vrex base. Thousands of Vrex soldiers were inside, armed with the most advanced weapons in their arsenal. Harris raised his hand, and the entire base simply vanished. The building, the soldiers, the weapons, everything disappeared without a sound. Where the base had stood, there was now a perfectly circular hole in the ground. No civilian casualties, Harris reminded his team. "We are not here to destroy innocents. We are here for justice." That was the most terrifying part of the human attack. It was surgically precise. Only Vrex military targets were being eliminated. Vrex civilians, including children, were completely unharmed. The humans could have destroyed entire planets, but they chose to target only those who had participated in Katie's murder. On the Vrex homeworld, panic was spreading. Government officials tried to evacuate to their emergency bunkers, but the doors would not open. Their transportation vehicles would not start. Their communication systems were dead. Zektar was trapped in his office with several other Vrex leaders. They could hear explosions in the distance, but they could not see what was happening. Their windows had gone dark, showing only empty space where the view of their capital city should have been. "How is this possible?" demanded General Kakstar. "Humans are weak. They cannot do this." "Apparently, we were wrong about humans being weak," Zektar replied grimly. A new voice spoke from the walls of the room. It was Captain Martinez, broadcasting from the Nightfall. "Ambassador Zektar, you are under arrest for the murder of Katie Murphy. You will be transported to a human vessel for trial." "I am a Vrex leader," Zektar shouted. "You cannot arrest me. Watch us," Martinez replied. The walls of Zektar's office became transparent. He could see human soldiers in glowing white armor walking through the building. They moved like they were floating, their feet barely touching the ground. Vrex security forces tried to stop them, but the humans simply walked through their attacks unharmed. The soldiers reached Zektar's office. One of them pointed at the door, and it dissolved like mist. They walked into the room and surrounded the Vrex leaders. "You will come with us," said the lead soldier in perfect Vrex language. "And if we refuse?" asked Zektar. The soldier gestured, and Zektar's desk disappeared, then his chair, then the floor under his feet. Zektar found himself floating in empty space, held up by nothing but the human soldier's will. "Refusal is not an option," the soldier explained. Throughout Vrex space, the same scene was playing out. Every Vrex military leader, every soldier who had participated in attacks on humans, every official who had supported the murder of Katie Murphy, was being arrested by human forces. The arrests were broadcast live across the galaxy. Every alien species watched in amazement and terror as humans demonstrated their true capabilities. This was not the weak, friendly species that had been asking for peace and cooperation. This was something far more dangerous. The technology humans were using was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. They could control matter at the molecular level. They could manipulate space and time. They could make themselves invisible or intangible at will. They had weapons that could destroy planets or precisely eliminate single targets, but the most frightening thing was their restraint. They could have conquered the entire galaxy in a single day. Instead, they were carefully targeting only those responsible for harming human children. Where did this technology come from? Asked Council President Yarthik as he watched the broadcasts. It has always existed, replied Ambassador Roy Bennett. For the first time in months, he was speaking. In complete sentences. We just chose not to use it. But why? Why pretend to be weak? Bennett looked at the other council members with sad eyes. Because we hoped you would be better than this. We hoped we could all live in peace together. We believed that if we showed restraint, other species would show wisdom. He paused and looked at Katie Murphy's picture on his desk. We were wrong. Some of you only understand force. So now we will speak to you in the only language you comprehend. The battle was over in less than 6 hours. Every Rex military installation had been eliminated. Every Rex warship had been destroyed or captured. Every Rex leader responsible for Katie's death was in human custody, but no Rex civilians had been harmed. No other alien species had been threatened. The humans had struck with the precision of a surgeon and the power of a god about as the smoke cleared. One message was broadcast across the galaxy in every known language. This is what happens to those who harmed human children. Remember this day. Remember Katie Murphy, and pray you never give us a reason to remind you again. The galaxy would never be the same. Ambassador Zektar sat in a small room aboard Captain Martinez's ship. The room was clean and white, with a single chair and table. There were no bars on the windows, because there was nowhere to escape. The ship was traveling through space at speeds that made Rex technology look like ancient toys. Across from Zektar sat Paul and Lisa Murphy, Katie's parents. They had volunteered to be part of the tribunal that would judge the aliens responsible for their daughter's death. Their eyes were red from crying, but their voices were steady. Do you remember what you said before you killed our daughter? Paul asked quietly. Zektar looked at the floor. For the first time in his life, the proud Rex ambassador felt ashamed. I said that children grow up to be adults who might fight us. Katie was 8 years old, Lisa whispered. She liked to draw pictures of animals. She wanted to visit Earth to see the ocean. She was afraid of thunderstorms, but loved the rain. She never hurt anyone, Paul continued. She never even killed an insect. When she found a spider in her room, she would carefully take it outside instead of stepping on it. Zektar could not look at Katie's parents. I did not know. You did not want to know, said Admiral Susan Brooks, who was also part of the tribunal. You saw a human child and decided she was a threat to your empire. You killed her to make a point about power. The trial was being broadcast live across the galaxy. Every species could watch as the humans presented their evidence. Video recordings showed exactly what had happened on Kepler 442b. Every word spoken, every order given, every moment of Katie's final minutes was played for all to see. But this was not about revenge. This was about justice. The tribunal finds Ambassador Zektar guilty of murder, announced Judge Robert Chun, a human legal expert. However, we will not execute him. Killing him would make us no better than he is. What is our sentence? Zektar asked. You will spend the rest of your life helping to build schools for alien children, Judge Chun replied. You will teach young aliens about the value of life and the importance of protecting the innocent. Perhaps in time, you will understand what you destroyed when you killed Katie Murphy. Zektar was shocked. He had expected to die. Instead, the humans were giving him a chance to make amends for his crimes. Meanwhile, President Helen Carter was addressing the Galactic Council from what used to be the Vrex Command Center. The building had been completely rebuilt by human technology in just one day. Where there had once been military planning rooms, there were now gardens and schools. For centuries, humans have been the youngest members of this galactic community. Carter said to the assembled alien leaders, We accepted that role gladly. We learned from older species. We shared our culture and our dreams of peace. She paused and looked around the room. Every alien leader was paying attention. They had. seeing what human technology could do. They knew they were no longer dealing with the weak, helpless species they had thought they knew. "But you mistook our kindness for weakness," Carter continued. "You assumed that because we chose not to use our full capabilities, we did not have them. You were wrong." Dr. Alan Foster stepped forward with a device that looked like a simple tablet computer. "This contains the complete technical specifications for every weapon system we used against the Vrex," he announced. "We are sharing this information with every species in the galaxy." The alien leaders gasped. No species had ever shared their most advanced military secrets with potential enemies. "Why would you do this?" asked Council President Yarthik. "Because we do not want to be your enemies," Carter replied. "We want to be your protectors. This technology is now available to any species that promises to use it only to defend the innocent." But there was a catch. The weapons came with built-in safeguards that human technology controlled. They could not be used to attack civilians, especially children. They could not be used for conquest or slavery. They could only be used to protect those who could not protect themselves. "You are giving us your most powerful weapons, but only if we promise to be good?" asked alien leader Vextara. "Exactly," Carter smiled. "Trust is earned through actions, not words." The transformation of the galaxy was swift and complete. Species that had spent centuries preparing for war suddenly found themselves working together to build schools and hospitals. The technology humans shared made it possible to end poverty and disease on hundreds of worlds. But the most important change was in how aliens treated children. Every species in the galaxy established new laws protecting young ones. Hurting a child became the most serious crime possible. Entire civilizations restructured their societies around keeping children safe and happy. Agent Carla Wright was now the head of the new Galactic Protection Service. Her job was to watch for any signs that someone might threaten innocent lives. She had thousands of agents working throughout the galaxy, but they were not spies anymore. They were teachers and doctors and social workers. "The best way to prevent violence is to help people build better lives," she explained to her team. "When everyone has enough food, shelter, and hope for the future, there is less reason to fight." Danny Foster had become the head chef at the new Galactic Cultural Center. Instead of hiding viruses in alien food, he was teaching cooking classes where different species learned to make each other's favorite dishes. Food brought people together in ways that politics never could. Steve Murphy was now a school principal on the former Vrex homeworld. The government buildings had been converted into educational facilities where young Vrex learned about art and music and literature from across the galaxy. The children were much happier than their parents had ever been under the military regime. Nancy Bell managed the economic systems that distributed resources fairly among all species. No planet went hungry while another had too much food. No species lacked medical supplies, while others had warehouses full of medicine. But the most important memorial was built on Kepler 442b, where Katie had lived and died. Paul and Lisa Murphy stood in front of a beautiful garden that had been planted where their daughter's school used to be. Children from dozens of different species played together on the playground. Their laughter filled the air like music. "She would have loved this," Lisa said, watching a young Vrex child help a human toddler climb the monkey bars. "She would have been friends with all of them." Paul agreed. In the center of the garden stood a statue of Katie Murphy, carved from a single piece of white stone. She was sitting cross-legged with her arms outstretched, as if inviting everyone to join her for story time. At the base of the statue were the words she had spoken in her final moments. "I want to go home." But now those words had a different meaning. The garden was home to children from every species in the galaxy. They came here to play and learn and grow up together in peace. Every day, alien children brought flowers to Katie's statue. They sang songs in their own languages, but Somehow they all sounded like lullabies. They drew pictures and left them at the base of the statue. Pictures of Katie playing with alien children. Pictures of her swimming in Earth's oceans. Pictures of her building sandcastles on beaches she never got to visit. The parents of these children often asked their kids why they brought gifts to a human child they had never met. Because she was supposed to grow up with us, the children would say. Because she was our friend, even though we never got to meet her. Admiral Susan Brooks visited the memorial every year on the anniversary of Katie's death. She would sit by the statue and read letters that human children had written to Katie. The letters talked about the friends they had made from other species, the alien languages they were learning, and the peaceful galaxy that Katie's sacrifice had helped create. We kept our promise, Brooks would whisper to the statue. No one will ever hurt children the way they hurt you. Never again. The galaxy had learned the most important lesson in the universe, that the love adults have for their children is the most powerful force that exists. It can create technologies that bend reality itself. It can inspire ordinary people to become heroes. It can transform entire civilizations. But most importantly, it never forgets. The memory of Katie Murphy lived on in every law that protected children, every school that taught peace, every friendship between alien species that had once been enemies. The humans had taken their place as the galaxy's guardians, not through conquest, but through the terrible demonstration of what happened to those who threatened the innocent. They ruled not with fear, but with the promise that every child, regardless of species, would be safe to grow up and chase their dreams. And in the garden on Kepler 442b, children played and laughed under the watchful eyes of Katie's statue, building the peaceful future she had died dreaming about. The little girl who just wanted to go home had finally made it possible for every child in the galaxy to feel safe at home among the stars. The galaxy would never forget Katie Murphy. More importantly, it would never forget the lesson her death had taught, that there is no force in the universe more dangerous than parents protecting their children, and no force more powerful than love transformed into justice. In the end, Katie had gotten her wish. She had gone home, not to Earth, but to something much bigger. She had gone home to the hearts of every being in the galaxy who believed that children deserved to grow up safe and loved, and that